No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Bronco Nation? Welcome on into a live edition here at Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. Our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. And wow, it got super dark over there at Brad Bedell's house. I don't know if the power just went out or what, but how you doing, Brad?
There's storms. Good, how are you?
Good. You got no light in there or what?
I didn't turn it on. I felt
All
like
right.
having a little mood this morning.
This is I know you have the face for podcasting, but I mean this is a little bit, there's a video element to this if we got a light or anything there, but I know folks
That's a fact. I do have a face for radio.
we can see that game one apparel you got on there. Make sure you're hitting up Brad Bedell for game one, all your kids' youth apparel. He's got you covered there, and he's hard at work, and we always appreciate on a Wednesday, Brad, taking a little time out of his busy work day to talk a little Boise State football. And I thought today we try to play to our host strengths. And so offensive line, our question today as we talk with Brad, and but do want to thank our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and Company, RowPaint.com. All your painting needs, make sure you hit up our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. That's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting. We appreciate Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. And I was actually watching the Mountain West Championship pregame show yesterday, Brad, which I'll get to in a second, but I saw Andy Rowe pop on there, and always good talking to Andy. But before we get into our topic today, there was a little bit of sad news we found out yesterday with Willie Riley passing away. And he was Dylan Riley's father, and he came on our pregame show last year for the Mountain West Championship game, Brad, and we had never met him before, and he was kind of hanging out next to the set, and we threw him on, and I would say in our 4 years of doing this, he was one of the most, and I don't just say this, he was one of the most popular guests we had. His energy, some of his jokes and things, and how proud he was of his son is what stood out to me as I watched that video again. And so the passing of Willie Riley, I don't have any more details as to what happened, but his son has posted, Dylan Riley, running back for Boise State, has posted some things on social media and on Instagram, And there is a GoFundMe set up if you can help contribute to the family for some of the funeral costs and things. But Willie Riley, unfortunately, gone way too soon. And that was the only time I met him, the only time I talked to him, Brad. But that obviously stood out to me, and it kind of was a gut punch yesterday to find out the news about that.
Yeah, it's a shame. Thoughts were with his family, and he was so proud of his son that day. And his mom was with him. The whole family kind of came for that game, and it's just a sad situation with that family, and it's sudden. Hard to believe that with all that energy and everything else that life was cut short for him. But I feel for his family, and anything that the Bronco family can do to help the family in need, I highly support them in that. And it's a sad deal that he's no longer with his family right now. But the Bronco family, the Bronco Nation, they'll get behind him and support him in any way they can. And then as we go through those hard times, and hopefully the young man's going to reach out on his teammates and things like that, where his dad and their family can get together and just grieve.
Yeah. And I encourage folks to go back and watch that interview. I almost played it on the show today, and then I thought, you know what, we only have Brad for a limited amount of time here, and so but I posted it to my Twitter account yesterday, and it was already queued up, right at the spot where Willie came on. So you can go check my Twitter account, or just go search on YouTube, Bronco Nation News, Mountain West, championship pregame show. And I think that it's worth, 10, 12 minutes of your time, because he was joking. He was having jokes. His energy was just, it just was infectious and spread even in the 10 minutes you met him, it left an impact on you. Like I said, all the comments you can see during the chat of how many people love talking to him. And like I said, Brad, the one thing that stood out to me was just how dang proud he was of his son. And he was talking about bringing his mom to a game and a couple weeks earlier, and how they had, been used to seeing 150 people at a high school game, and they came and his mom and Dylan's grandma walked in and saw 37,000 people at a home game, and just couldn't believe that they had kind of made it, and so again, don't have any more details as to what happened, but super sad. And thoughts. And I know it's easy to say thoughts and prayers, every time somebody passes away, but really do feel for Dylan and his family, and hopefully they can get the strength and things they need to move past this, because I can't imagine at that age just losing your pops like that. And we always say it when something like this happens, but give your parents a call, give your parents a hug if you can, and you never know when life's going to be cut short. And so wanted to start the show off with that, and he was a great guy. And like I said, I know a lot of people reading the messages, Brad, had said they met him at the spring game not too long ago. He was out and about in the tailgating and talking to fans, and he just had that energy. And like I said, the energy and how proud he was of his son are two things that stood out to me.
Absolutely. There's if anybody, you left infectious. You did. He just put you meet people along through life, and there's some people that just go, man, I'll tell you what, that's a guy I probably am never going to forget. And he's one of them, is because of the energy and how proud he is of everything that his son has done, and really his whole family. Right. And so as he gets through that, and the family gets through that, I agree with you, BJ. It was well said that, reach out to your family, make sure everybody's close. And then, for the people that are involved in that family's lives, reach out through a text and make sure everybody's okay. I think I agree, thoughts and prayers, but actions are what matter, and reach out to make sure everybody's okay. Mental health is a big, important thing. And this is one of those things you got to get through. And sometimes people have to get through way too early in life. And this is one of those situations.
And like I said, there is a GoFundMe account set up. You can find that on various. I retweeted it last night. You can find it various places to help pay for some of the funeral costs and things. So rally behind Dylan, support him, help him out here, folks. He could use it. And again, thinking about him and his family during this tough time. Brad, we are continuing our series today. We're talking about the 25 burning questions, kind of our countdown to camp series. Believe it or not, we're barely a month away from Mountain West Media Days down in Las Vegas. In this series, we're doing it Monday through Friday every day for the next 4 or 5 weeks here, and we'll continue to tackle different questions and topics, and we'll finish up with our biggest question facing the team, and that'll be the day before Mountain West Media Days. So this series will take us right into Mountain West Media Days, and we'll examine different players, different positions, some big picture stuff, looking at group of 5 candidates and just all kinds of Mountain West candidates, hardest games on the schedule. We talked about breakout candidates yesterday, some younger guys ready to break out. And we wanted to kind of tailor some of the shows on different days of the week for our esteemed panel of co-hosts. And we figured, Brad Bedell, let's play to your strengths and talk offensive line today. So our question today looks at the offensive line and who will start at some spots, but more importantly, just what's this offensive line going to look like in 2025? And certainly you feel good about 3 guys coming back as starters, maybe 4, I guess, you throw in Hall Schmidt, but certainly 3 elite, all Mountain West level players. We've talked plenty about Cage Casey at left tackle, obviously Mason Randolph at center, who we've talked about, and you obviously helped bring him in. And then obviously at right guard, you've got, Carry-On, who's done a tremendous job, when he's been able, on the field. But, you had some injuries last year with Mason and with Roger, and that gave some other guys some opportunities. So I think there's 7 or 8, guys that have, decent starting experience coming back this year trying to earn a starting spot, but only a certain number of spots. We'll dive into some of the individual players and spots here, but just overall, in general, the offensive line, just your comfort level, your confidence level with this group. How do you feel about this group going into the season?
Comfort level's high. When we were talking about with Cage, I think it's very high. I think it's the strength of their offense, to be quite honest with you. With losing your running back, that's gonna. I think the look, it's hard. You could be very confident with the offensive line, but when you have a generational back behind you, they look very good because of him, right? So it's not. They're going to go through some, running back by committee, which that affects the offensive line a little bit. So I think it's a very, very good unit. And I think that, and when we were going over all the injuries last year, it's like, okay, they're just going to be even better next year because of all the, the experience that all these kids are going to have. And they did. So I think it's a strength of the offense. I think they're a big physical group. They've got really good weight and length to them. And so as a unit, I am very high on them, and I'm very high in the leadership within that unit. And that's kind of the important thing.
I know as you're building an offensive line, right, every year you try to have 2 or 3 veteran starters returning if you can, but you like to have a younger guy or 2 if you can, just so they kind of become the guy. I mean, sure, I'm sure you'd love to have for the season you have them 5, 3-year year senior starters. That'd be great. But then, the next year it's obviously going to be a little bit of transition. So I've talked to Scott Huff and some guys where it's like, okay, if you can have 2 or 3 kind of guys that are returning starters, you feel good about them, but you also like to mix in a younger guy or 2. And then, so the next year, those 2 guys are then the multi-year starters, and you kind of keep that going. And it seems like they kind of have that mix this year with 3 solid returning starters that you feel very good about. A younger guy in Hall Schmidt that started some last year and has some playing experience. And then whoever wins the left guard spot that we'll talk about, some younger guys, but they have experience from last year. And so it seems like if that's the way you want to kind of draw it up, they've got kind of a nice mix.
They do. They have a really nice mix. It's an interesting mix.
By the way, if you could be a little louder, I turned my mic down a little bit. Maybe that will even it out. So I turned my mic down, and then maybe that'll even out. So folks, let me know if it sounds okay. I turned my mic down. Maybe Brad and I will be more, but maybe just speak up just a little bit, Brad, if you can.
Yeah. So I agree with 100% what you said. You do. You want those 3. You want 2 or 3 to come back every year, right? It's like, so when I got here in 17, we had 4 brand new starters. So that is it's just hard. But they're in the situation right now. I'm thinking I am just including that Cage is gone after this year. So I'm going to include him, right? So you got Cage is going to be gone. Tyler's going to be gone. Mason's going to be gone. And then look at your backup situation. Holmes is a senior, okay? And then there's somebody else. I forgot who. Maybe that's it. So you're going to have 4 seniors within this group. The rest is heavy juniors. So that's going to be interesting to see why Miles Walker, that transfer out of Ohio State, made a lot of sense because he's only a sophomore. And so they brought in a transfer to balance that out a little bit. And then they have, 3 sophomores and then you have the class that's going to come in, and then now they're right into a cycle where you want it to be. But with all the experience that these juniors have, I think the left tackle's solidified. I mean, no, let's not kid each other. We don't even have to talk about that position. The left guard is where it's going to be. The main competition, in my opinion, is the left guard spot. I also think, and I agree with Scooter and everything else, you want all these younger guys to have as much experience so they can press, right? Complacency is a horrible thing in the game of football. If you don't have that inner drive and you just think, well, it's my position, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, you're wrong. So if you can create competition within that position, because one, you're one play from not playing, right? Boise experienced that last year.
Yeah.
Right? You're one play, then your season, or you're missing 4 games. So if you don't watch that, you're just going to get complacent, you're going to lose your job, and you should lose your job. Get out. You don't care. Just get out. I don't care. Go ride the pine, transfer for all I give a hell. So I think what's going to be important is the left guard spot, which you got Tyler, who's had a lot of experience. We talked about him when we did this a couple weeks ago. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The other one is the Jake Steele kid played a lot. The center can always bounce around, but I want to say this: that center spot hasn't been solidified in 2 years now. Every year. And Mason, I love him to death, but he hasn't gotten through a whole season in 2 years. So that spot it says it's solidified because he has a very experienced center, but in my opinion, it's not, because he hasn't played a full season in 2 years. So that's a situation there, is that you have to get your next center going. That next center is just as important or more important than that guard spot. So whoever you're going to develop at that center spot needs to take a lot of reps.
Yeah,
and that's going to be vital.
Well, we'll get to some of these individual names you mentioned in a second here, but there is a question here. Robbie Robinson's asking you, Brad, about Nate Potter, former O-line guy as the OC. How does that shape the offense? Obviously, he's the tight ends coach right now, but played O-line. Just in general, having a new OC this year, but also a guy that was an offensive lineman as the OC, whether it's schemes or play calls or whatever. What do you think of Nate Potter as in regards to how that impacts the offensive line this year?
I think it's more scheme than anything. You can't just, we can't call that play because the O-line's terrible. I mean, it's scheme. It's okay. Where are we fitting personnel wise? Are they big maulers that you can run inside zone and duo and just make a heyday out of it? Are we more athletic on the edge to keep your mid zone attack going? And then can we run some power and counter, which last year made a heyday in counter. They did some unbelievable game planning things with the counter game. Well, your right guard's returning. So it's that left guard that's going to have to fit what they want to run. I expect some tweaks scheme wise, but I don't there's not going to be a wholesale change. And all of a sudden now they're going to strictly go to outside zone and pin pull and all that stuff. I think they're going to stick to powerful run game that the tailbacks run real well in. They've proven that. But there's going to be some subtle changes that you may not see at the start, but they'll come forward.
Matt, and don't forget, Max Payne says having Louder or Matt Wagner on the field basically gives you a sixth offensive lineman. Both are elite blockers at tight end there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's just formational game. And the greatest thing about it is you can flip, motion, shift, and do all that, create the extra gap versus the defense, and they're not a mismatch on the edge versus your bigger defensive ends. I agree with that. That is a great comment. I agree with that 100%.
All right, so let's get into the so we said we've talked plenty about Cage Casey at left tackle, Mason Randolph if he's healthy, which he is, he's your starting center, and then Roger Carrion. But before we get into, I guess, this left guard spot, tell me about the left guard spot versus the right guard spot. And if there's any difference there, I know everyone says the left tackle's, protecting the blind side. The left tackle is seen as more important than right tackle. Is left guard any more important than right guard? And is there any chance you see Roger Carrion move over to left guard this year with Ben Dooley being gone, and then maybe that battles at right guard, or what do you make of that? Is that a crazy thought, or what's first right guard?
No, I don't think the difference in guards is not a big issue. I think if you play left guard, you should play right guard. If you can play right guard, you should be able to play left guard.
Is one more important than the other, though?
No, I don't think so. I think in some offenses it does if they're going to run plays one way. Like there's Gus Malzahn's offense, he runs certain plays one way. And so he does that, and he makes sure certain guys are at certain points. Boise doesn't do that. I don't think Roger needs to move, because that right tackle, which we talked about with Schmidt, played 12 games, got banged up. So you want some strength next to him, right? Then you got your left tackle spot, which solidified, who's the best offensive lineman in the conference. Then you can get the guy that hasn't played as much, but they played quite a bit.
Yeah,
have his strength compared to the next one, right? So now you've got two, your solidified offensive linemen can work with the right tackle and Schmidt. He played a lot, but he's coming off an injury. And then you got your left guard can play with your left tackle, which Casey can really help that young man, that player, right? So I don't think he needs to move right and left. I don't think that needs to happen. I do think that with where they're going to put that left guard spot, has to be prepared to have some more one-on-ones, because when we talked about with Cage Casey is that you can dictate protections where we know he's going to win the one-on-one matchup. Well, if you're gonna make that side the man side, that left guard spot's going to have, and your four down front's going to have a lot of one-on-one offensive or passing situations. So that's where it's going to be a little dynamic fit, I think, especially if you got the three technique to that side, because that's two one-on-ones if you're sliding away. So I think, that position needs to have strong pass protection, things like that. But I think all of them are going to set up all the interior with the double teams. And Cage Casey's your mauler. He's going to be your drive guy. So I don't think Roger needs to move. That's one. So I do think he needs to have a strong pass protection background. I do think that if they want to really solidify some protection.
Well, there's a lot of guys, a lot of candidates, and I'm very interested to kind of see how this breaks up. But we should mention a welcome here. We have one of your favorites, actually, number 75, Matoya, right tackle. His pops is watching right now. He says, my son is working his ass off at right tackle, number 75. So don't count competition here. His son is working.
No.
Be ready.
I think his son has to be ready. I think his son should be ready.
Thank you for watching, Pops. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I think he should be ready. But also, I think if that situation right there, and he's a big man, and that's one thing. If you could play right tackle, you could play left guard. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, a lot of transitions get made. It's the best five. And if anybody's in that best five and they're sitting there at their right tackle and he's one of the best five offensive linemen, somebody has to move. To get the best five on the field, somebody has to make a move. And if that's him, perfect. If it's not, perfect. I mean, he got a lot of, Matoya got a lot of reps in the spring, a lot. And I think that development is just going to help for the season. And now when Schmidt comes back, okay, and all of a sudden now, oh my God, the backup right tackle is one of our best five. He's got to go. I don't with a guy with 12 game experience, and he comes back, if he's right back into the swing of where he was at last year, and all of a sudden a backup tackle is one of the best five, you got to go. Say, hey, sit him down, go, we got to move you to left guard.
I think we talked about this before, but you came to one of the practices, and I was talking to you over on the side, and you were watching the O-line during fall camp, and you were like, 75. Like there was something he did that you kind of caught at an early fall camp practice. You were impressed with 75.
He is very athletic. I mean, his lateral movement's great. He is just very athletic. And I think, making that transition and the transfer, now he's got a full year in the weight room and things like that. So as he's gotten bigger and stronger, I think time will tell once we get into fall camp and all linemen are back, right? I don't know who practiced in the spring. I don't get into that stuff. But when the whole unit's back come August, and all of a sudden you get in there and you're about 5 days in, and everything's starting to come out, okay? And it's starting to play itself out, and they go, okay, I think one of these backup tackles is one of our best 5. I'll say it again. Somebody's got to move. Now, I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. Let's say the backup right tackle is one of the best 5. There's a situation where is it an easier transition to keep him at right because he's been a right-handed stance all spring. That transition's been maybe they don't feel comfortable making a transition. Maybe there's a situation where Roger can move over to the left.
If it better benefits somebody else to play right guard, knowing Roger could do both.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's a situation right there where I could see, okay, all spring, right.
So you're
right.
easier to go, I don't say easier, but going right tackle to right guard compared to, right tackle or right guard to left guard.
Everything flips. Stance flips, verbiage flips, play calls flip. Everything, you got to transition in your head, which anybody can do, but it takes time. It's not like you just get on the field and you've been practicing 17 practices and all summer on the right side, and all of a sudden, hey, you're going to play left guard today. Well, everything has to flip in your brain, and so that takes a day or two.
Well, I want to get into a couple of these names here in just a second, but rowpaint.com, our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and Company. Check them out. All your painting needs, whether it's the concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting. There would be no BNN without Andy Rowe and rowpaint.com. So hit him up or hit me up, and I can connect you directly with Andy Rowe, and they can get out to get you an estimate or walk you through the process for free. Highly recommend them. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. And again, our title sponsor, that's Andy Rowe and rowpaint.com. We appreciate Taco Bell as well, the SN Management Group, the Nicolason family. If you're looking for a great meal, get the kids out to Taco Bell. You can feed the family for like $10. Those cheesy roll-ups, the slushies. My kids are very easy and very pleased and happy at Taco Bell. They're also hiring, so if you're looking for a job, you can go right in there to the local locations in the Treasure Valley, and they've got the paperwork right there when you walk in on the table. You can apply for a job, great promotional opportunities, free food while you work, and don't forget, they've donated more than $400,000 to student-athlete scholarships at Boise State, so we appreciate Taco Bell, the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations, SON Management Group, the Nicolason family to be precise. We appreciate them and our friends at Taco Bell. Hey, Tyson Degenhart, he stayed in Boise State, and because of the NIL support and the things he got at Boise State, and they're going to be soon announcing a new basketball player that ICCU has teamed up with, and they're going to try to do the same and keep him in Boise. So return the favor, folks. Idaho Central Credit Union. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile eBranch online banking right there in your smartphone. So easy to use, and I know by the day, folks tell me they made the switch, and they're so happy they did. So, Rain's family, we're proud customers at ICCU. You can as well. Check them out online at ICCU.com. Hey, Roaring Springs, you want to get out there to Roaring Springs? I know right now it's a little stormy and rainy, but supposed to be better weather this weekend. Jackson's and Extra Mile have your $8 discount. That's right. All you do is buy 2 Coca-Cola products at Jackson's or Extra Mile, 2 Coca-Cola products, and you get $8 off a ticket. You can use that up to 4 times, and you can save $32 on tickets to Roaring Springs, and that's from our friends at Jackson's and Extra Mile. So if you're heading out there, make sure you do that. I used to do that on the Bogus Basin ski deals they had back in the day, where you could get the $10 off, I think it was. So it's a great deal. You get a couple Coca-Cola products, and you save some money from our friends at Roaring Springs, and that's at Jackson's and Extra Mile. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and Game locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. They've been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. If you are looking for a spa, for a sauna, for a pool table, they got you covered. View one of their 4 locations or check them out online at thespateam.com. Hey, the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. TheBlueandOrangeStore.com has you covered, and now, Brad, they're the official in-game provider of gear. They will have stores at the stadium. They will have stores in the Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange Store, now the official in-venue provider of Boise State merchandise with their recent deal with Boise State Athletics. So congrats to the Blue and Orange Store, Travis Hawks and Company, and of course, you can still go to the Boise Town Square Mall, 2nd floor there next to Pro Image. You can also order online anywhere in the world at the Blue blueandorange.com. All right, let's dive into some of these actual numbers here, Brad. And by the way, the banner behind me is getting updated the next day or two. We're going to have some of our newer sponsors updated on the banner. So I've that is coming, and I cannot wait to update the banner with some of our newer sponsors. We appreciate all of our sponsors that make this show possible and make folks like Brad Bedell's appearances possible each week. I want to get into these guys, but we do have a couple questions on here. Bronco 130 says, Brad, what is the single most important strength lift for an O lineman? Is it power clean?
Good question. Yeah. Power clean 1A, squat 1B. I mean, it's power clean's good because it's the whole body. You gotta, it's legs, it's power, everything. Squat, even though it's a slower dynamic lift, is where you can get a lot of weight on your back and drive through, which creates more of a game-like struggle to play the game. I always like to think of lifts as how do they relate to on the field. And so I would say power clean 1A, squat 1B.
All right, so let's get into right. We mentioned right tackle, and that's one where, as you said, you've got, a returning quote-unquote starter, Hall Schmidt. He's a redshirt junior, by the way, so he does have another year after this. But he was the week 1 starter last year and had his season shortened a little bit due to injury. But let's see here. Started 12 games at right tackle last season, missed 2 games, played through the pain, so did come back later in the season. But right tackle, according to the stats here, I know the Pro Football Focus numbers aren't always – perfect. I just always preface it by saying that they're not, gospel, whatever, but some of the numbers are just fact. Hall Schmidt was penalized the team high 9 times last year along the offensive line. So he got penalized more than any other offensive lineman, 9, and his 47.2 Pro Football Focus grade, Nathan Carroll calls that, quote, dismal. He says, I'll give Schmidt the benefit of the doubt and assume the poor play was at least in part due to the injuries and that he could be due for improvement in 2025. But he says, I won't write Schmidt's name in Sharpie at right tackle just yet. So he had 12 games. It was at more because they didn't have anybody else they liked or that were ready, or was he the best candidate and deserves it again? I guess we will see. But Hall Schmidt got his first chance to start last year, first-year starter. As he said, had some penalties. The Pro Football numbers weren't great, but he does have that experience over some of the other guys that are coming in. I mentioned Kyle Cox. He had 97 snaps over 6 games, did have a start against San Diego State, was a former 3-star recruit. Was in the right tackle kind of pecking order last year. He had the best film of the 3 last season, according to Nathan Carroll, who studied some of the offensive line film. Matched up against all-conference edge Trey White, and he allowed just 2 pressures and was solid in the run game as well. He says if someone unseats Hall Schmidt at right tackle, his pick would be Cox. We also mentioned, Matoyer as an option here as well. And he certainly, is a guy that has some experience and did some things last year. I'm trying to find my write-up here on him.
He also saved his redshirt year.
Top 30 JUCO recruit in the 2024 class. Hall Schmidt's primary backup, played in 6 games, did have 2 starts, San Jose State and Wyoming, 235 snaps at right tackle last year. He had a 39.4 Pro Football Focus grade, which was the lowest on the team. But again, was a JUCO guy coming in, so he has another year also to focus in there. But it looks like those 3 guys are probably your leaders right now: Cox, and then obviously Matoyer and Schmidt. As you said, Schmidt has the starting experience last year, but do Matoyer or Cox have the chance to unseat him?
Yeah, I think they have every opportunity they can. I think of it that way when you look at the Pro Football Focus, but when Schmidt wasn't there, in my opinion, you didn't see a dynamic improvement when he was gone. It's the same thing. It's the same offensive line. It's not that there was a company that somebody came in and Cox didn't come in and absolutely dominate the right side.
Yeah.
Weird didn't come in and dominate the right side. It was the same offensive. It's what you want. When you come in as the backup and all of a sudden you got to take over the starting role, you don't want to see a deep dip in play. And all of a sudden now that your sacks have gone through the roof and the pressures and things like that, the level of play stayed the same. Now, is that the same? Is that great. They're all were below average. I don't. You know what I mean? It doesn't. All I know is the offensive production in the run game didn't slow down, and it's not like the sacks didn't jump through the roof. So I think that if I'm a bet man, that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to say this. I think game 1, Schmidt Hall is your starting right tackle. I think the backup right tackle, as of right now, is going to be Matoyer. And I think they're going to have Kyle Cox rip it left.
Okay.
And then I think Kyle Cox has the opportunity to become the swing guy, where he was going to play your right and your left tackle in a pinch, just in case. And then I'd like to see Dalen, if you know how far he's progressed coming off of a year of lifting. You know, his dad said it best. He's been working his tail off to
You just said again, he will be better.
Oh, there's no doubt. I hope so. I was a junior college transfer too. I understand that jump. And everybody wants to think, well, you played college football. No, you didn't. You played against some donkeys in junior college. Donkeys. And as the top offensive lineman in the country, as you go, you played against some real bad players. And I Colorado redshirted me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And with the young man getting some game experience, saving the redshirt year, now he's there is no doubt Boise State strength department is unbelievable. So now he's with them for a full year. I mean, look out. Let's see how he goes and see where the mental part is in the game and how that's developed and things like that. So being a JUCO player, they don't always up front just solidify and come in and start. So you got to give the young man some reprieve there. But that's my pick. That's what I'm sticking to. It's going to be Schmidt.
All right, now let's go to the more, I think, intriguing spot here is left guard. And obviously have Ben Dooley moving on, a multi-year starter. Certainly was a guy that, did a lot of great things and is now in NFL, training camp or summer workouts, whatever it's called, with the Los Angeles Rams, getting ready to go to I don't know if you've ever been required to go to Maui, Brad Bedell, but a required team, mini camp in Maui for the Rams this next weekend is going to be super nice. I don't know. I've never heard of that before, but they're having their team mini camp in Maui. Did you know that?
What a joke. Are you serious?
The official, mini camp that the Rams are having for their entire team is in Maui this weekend. Yes. Or next week.
Okay. What's the schedule like? Is it, hey, we're going to practice and then go to the beach, have a few Mai Tais?
I figure they just work. Maybe they're doing their walkthroughs on the beach. I don't know.
If I was a 7-year vet saying I'm going to Maui and I'm going to practice for a day, you got to think I'm hopefully they're going to be involved in some cleanup and all that. I don't think Maui's fully survived from the fires. I think that's going to be awesome. But,
so those could be afternoon practices, hopefully. I mean, some of those mornings could be a little rough. I don't know.
Maybe the game's changed, but when I was a player, there would be some older guys that know we're going to practice the next day. I would say there's going to be a couple Mai Tais getting sucked down.
And a couple just tight hamstrings are not quite ready to practice this weekend or something, maybe.
Some stiff backs, man. Some back spasms are going to come up. Guarantee that.
I don't know what that bill is for the Rams, but I know their owner, Stan Kroenke, is like a billionaire. But, they're having their official weekend mini camp at in Maui here for the Rams. And so good for Ben Dooley to get to go be a part of that and be over there.
And then they're done. So I'm sticking around in Maui for a couple weeks.
Sure. As long as the Rams will still foot the bill back if you're not on the charter. I don't know, but.
Oh, I think some of those players can afford it.
Yeah, probably so. By the way, we're going to get Willie on again. I was talking to Winston Venable, and I know he's got some stuff going on with Ben Dooley. I almost said Brad. He's got stuff with you too, but I know that Winston's been doing some stuff behind the scenes with Ben, and I know you were even a part of that behind the scenes that a lot of folks don't know about. But we're gonna catch up with Ben, I think, if you're cool with that, maybe the Wednesday after their mini camp or at some point here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, and check in and see how Maui was and hear all about that trip. I think that'd be fun to do.
Absolutely. Be awesome to do.
Tell us about this left guard competition. I brought this up because Ben Dooley is gone, obviously, and this is the one spot where there's no kind of obvious candidate. I think Tyler Kyneth, he was the backup to Ben and then ended up leading the team in snaps at right guard last season. He kind of moved over there at right guard once Roger Carrion went down with the injury, but he started 8 games and was solid. His 60.2 Pro Football Focus grade. And he did struggle against Oregon, 5 pressures allowed, according to Nathan's article, but he was a serviceable high-floor offensive lineman in Mountain West play. He says he's the ideal 6th lineman, in my opinion, proved he has flexibility to play on the left or right side, showed he won't be a liability when needed to fill in. Let's see. He says since he filled in as the backup to Ben Dooley last year, it's reasonable to assume he could be in line to start at left guard now, but competition remains open. Obviously, he's in the mix. He did miss the spring with an injury, so not kind of sure where he, picks up there. But Kyneth certainly in the mix as a guard. We mentioned Steele as well. Both Steeles really. Jason Steele was a center. Jake Steele, his brother, is more of a guard. He was at San Jose State and transferred over. Did get in 7 games, had 189 snaps last year, rotated in at right guard some when Carrion was injured. So he's a guy. But Jason Steele started 3 games during the middle of the season. He also had an injury in the first UNLV game, which hurt his chances there. But he could be the backup center there. And then an intriguing name that Nathan brings up is Zach Holmes, who obviously stepped in at center for a good chunk of last season. He took more snaps at center than nobody took more snaps at center last season than him. With Randolph and Steele going down, he played 623 snaps, started 8 games last season. Everybody knows he was the walk-on, came over and had his first start, at Oregon last year, and there was a lot of talk about that. But he came in and did a really nice job coming over, and taking over early in the season, unexpected there, as a walk-on. And again, he had pretty good numbers. There were struggles. Oregon and San Jose State, he allowed 8 pressures in those 2 games, but towards the end of the season, had some strong Pro Football Focus grades against San Diego State, Nevada, and Oregon State. And by the end of the year, Brad, Holmes was the 3rd highest offensive lineman with Pro Football Focus. So he says there's a strong case to be made that Zach Holmes is one of the 3 best interior offensive linemen, but obviously he would have to slide over to guard maybe. I don't know if you're going to move Mason over to guard to have him start at center again, but Zach Holmes, another intriguing name. What do you make? Holmes, the Steele brothers, Kyneth. You mentioned Miles Walker being an intriguing guy, even though he's more of a tackle. Maybe he could slide in there. I don't know. And then you have Carson Rasmussen, also a guard, a local player out of Owyhee High School. Did get 57 snaps in cleanup time, 4 games last season. A young guy that they like a little bit as well. But what do you make of the left guard competition there with some of the candidates?
I agree with Tyler having the inside track on that. Moving Mason Randolph over is intriguing comment. I don't know why you would do that. Because Mason started guard in his first season, correct?
Yep.
And so
he was all Mountain West, I believe, or second team, I believe.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing if they really don't want to mess up the end of the year with Zach Holmes. That's an intriguing view of it. I don't know if I'd do that, but it's intriguing. I like Tyler a lot. I think Steele is the inside track. I'll go back. I'm not sure. I'm not fully sold that Miles is a tackle. I don't know. We'll have to see on that. I mean,
they do list him as a tackle, but
they do. But I think he's an interesting guy that could come in and compete early. He didn't play last year. I mean, that's the one thing that that's why I have a lot of reserve about him. Nobody's seen him since high school, and I know he signed with Ohio State out of Connecticut. Connecticut's not a hotbed of high school football. No offense to him, but I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think Tyler's got it. I think the next guy would be Steele. I'm not prepared to say that they're going to do the moving of centers, but I could be wrong. Tyler's got it, backed up by Jake Steele. And then I think they're going to work with I truly think if I signed a kid out of Ohio State, knowing that we feel really good about the tackle situation too deep, I'm moving him inside. I'm moving somebody inside. Even though because he's 6'5", John Molstrom was 6'5". He played guard.
Yeah.
Just because he's 6'5" is the taller you are, can you bend? And if he can bend, he can play guard. If he can't bend, he's too stiff in the hip, he's going to get stuck outside of tackle.
Yeah, Molchan is a guy that did both for you guys and did a really nice job doing that. Maybe it's a dumb question, but is there any okay, you have a lineman like a Mason Randolph, and he might have a career at the next level at a certain spot, or he's better suited for that spot. He's a returning starter at that spot. Is there any discussion about not wanting to move him because of what that means for the future, or is it solely, hey, if Zach Holmes is our best, if Zach Holmes needs to start and he's a better center, and we know Mason can go to guard, that you don't care about anything else?
You don't care about it. I mean, you care about his future. Don't get me wrong. I almost said something, but you don't not because we think he's going to play this position in the National Football League. You got to win now and get to the playoff and do all that. I mean, once coaches start doing that, they start getting fired.
Simple enough.
That's not you can't. I mean, that's the NFL's job. I mean, you recruit kids to come in. They thought they were tackles. They move inside to guard. That's just the way it is. You can't play tackle in college football. Nothing wrong with that. We're going to have to move your guard just because you can't handle the speed on the edges and things like that. So I think that's where through the recruiting process, if we don't think he can play tackle, can he play guard? We don't think he can play guard, don't offer him.
So to wrap this up, I mean, regardless of how this shakes out, to have Cage Casey, to have Carry On, to have, Tim Keene and all the other guys that are competing for the most part, a lot of them were saying started multiple games last year. I mean, it seems like a nice, there's certainly worse situations Tim Keene could have going into the year.
There's no doubt. I mean, he's in a great, the room is in a great spot. They've all played. They're all getting developed. They're all getting better. There's some things. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, not playing in the spring hurts development, and then the guys that are playing in spring's helping their development. So that's where that position you need to revisit come fall camp when everybody's together. It's like the right tackle position that needs to be revisited when everybody's together, because now it's like, okay, Steele's gotten a lot better. We don't kind of know where Tyler's going to be come fall camp. And so that's where after 4 days of fall camp, 5 days of fall camp, 2 in helmets, shoulder pads, full pads. Yeah. 5 days of full camp is where where are they sitting right now? Okay. Who after day 6, we're going to see, is there going to be a shakeup up front and things like that. So that's where I think you're going to solidify some spots going into 6, 7, and then they'll start changing things up to see how players to play different spots, just because once they get into the season, they don't want to be in the same situation as last year, which was handled very well. We had some injuries. We had to shuffle everything around. Did everybody play those spots that they ended up having to play in games? No. Who didn't? This player did not play guard, but he had to play guard in the season. Well, then we better get him some guard reps, because we don't want this to happen again, knock on wood. But if it does, we have to put these kids in the right situation to be successful to help us win. And, having some bigger games late, Notre Dame's a big game. That's later in the year. There's a lot of games that can happen up till that point. And so, I think those things are important.
I think the offensive line is one of the deepest positions on the roster right now. I mean, you just look at who they have, and that's, not always the case. But if there was a position you wanted to be deep, I think offensive line is one of the ones you would take. So I think for a team that has the running backs that Boise State has and has the history of running the football the way they do, to go into a season with a deep offensive line is certainly a nice luxury for them to have this year.
There's no doubt. It's the two positions that you should feel the most confident. Offensive line because of depth and their starters, running back because all those kids have ran the ball well. After that, you got your starting quarterback, who's a backup, and then wide receiver, you got 3, who is 4, 5, and 6.
Well, there's even some debate about the 3 too, just based on at least stepping up or guys ready to step up for bigger roles. Because some of the 3 now with Austin Bolt being gone, I mean, there's guys moving up the pecking order here that will, you have to. That question is much further in our series. That's a much more important question, I think. But offensive line in pretty good shape. And, I think they're in a nice spot moving forward here. And Tim Keene, they'll continue to tinker and find the best 5 it's not always the same. We'll go out there. I remember Scott Huff used to always say, you guys always, bitch and complain and ask about who the starting 5 are. It's never 5. No one ever, you saw it last year. No. Nobody ever stays healthy the whole season. So stop worrying about who the starting 5 are and worry about 6, 7, and 8, because they're the guys that are actually going to end up being names you need to know and guys that are going to play.
Well, there's no doubt. But also everybody who's listening and they do, they I don't say bitch. They don't complain. They're like, well, BJ, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you're at practice and you can't even give us a starting 5 up front. Is because it's always changing. That's what fall camp is about. And once you come out and say, oh, here you're starting 5, it's going to change on you, and you're just not going to. You're going to look like a jackass
because you want those guys in. I mean, you're having guys in different spots more often than not just to see what groups work together. And then when you do have a combination, you can, if somebody goes down in week 1, you can say, oh, well, at least this combination got to practice back on day 6 together for 10 reps, or at least have some sort of continuity. I mean, it is a lot of moving guys around. And I mean, sure, you're starting what you hope is your starting 5, I'm sure gets the majority of those reps together, but there is a lot of, okay, yeah, this guy might be our starting right tackle, but we need to get him a couple of reps at left, or we need to get him a couple of reps somewhere else just in case something happens.
No doubt. But you also don't – everybody wants to pay attention to team, right? Oh, well, team. Who's there? Well, what's going on is during individual, the left guard and left tackle, they're working together. All of them are working together through individual on double teams, on pass sets, on twists, on blitz pickup, on communication. All that's happening in the corner where everybody wants to see the ball thrown and all that, but they're all working together right there. And then you get the team, you may switch some things up, but they're all working together in individual. And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
I'm not going to lie. Of all the individual periods, when we've got our little phone and we're walking around the field and we're looking, where can we get some retweets and likes and clicks and all this? I usually get the one offensive line video to appease the parents and things like that. But just being honest, it's usually not the most exciting drills over there with the O-line for the most part in individuals.
No, but that's what makes it the great. That's why they get hidden in a corner. Just put a gate around them, throw some water back there, and you know what? Open the gate when you're ready to dominate team. That's the way I always thought it should be. Just put the hogs in a pin and work them. And when they're just about to fall out, that's when you know you got them. Open up the cage, have them start jogging, and just say, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm ready for you. Let's go. You guys are done. It's not fun. I hear you, but there's a lot of work going in there.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm just saying that the work that Tim Keene is doing, and it's a lot of just technique and one step and positional stuff, the hands, and you'd like the deep routes to the receivers, if you're a fan for the most part, but you could argue that what they're doing over there is, more important, or obviously just as important for each individual position and what they're doing. I do love the, especially early in camp when they get the shoulder pads and stuff on for the first time, or full pads. I love the one-on-ones with the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen. That's always fun.
But it's like, look at last year. I mean, there was a little bit of a quarterback thing going. So it's like, you got to talk about what everybody cares about. And that's what people care about. It's quarterback, right? I mean, you're going to have to care about the backup next year. And that's where a lot of this talk's going to be. But just have an understanding. They're all going to be working together in individual. Just because they come in the team and all of a sudden it's not what you said. It's not that I'm wrong or you're wrong. It's, you don't know what the meetings are about.
Yeah.
So you don't say, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you got the O-line wrong. You're not going to get the O-line right until about 2 weeks before the first game. You're not. You're just everybody's going to change. It's just the way it is.
What are you talking about, BJ? The O-line blocking drills in the Ring of Honor or Bull in the Ring drill are the best.
Well, that's no more. I don't even think you can get away with the Bull in the Ring anymore.
Which one was that?
Soft. It's just soft. The whole team gets around each other. One guy two sit in the middle, and you just beat the hell out of each other. I mean, you can't do that anymore. I mean, like people think the Oklahoma drill is too hard on kids right now. Let's make football great again and have the physical aspect of the drills back. But now you got to worry about injury and concussions which are important. Don't get me wrong.
I should ask Tim Keene if he's bringing Bull in the ring back.
He's gonna laugh and say no.
Hey, Lithia Ford of Boise, we appreciate Jim Sturk and company. Check them out. Buy a used vehicle like the Rains family did. Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordboise.com. The Rains family loving our F-150. You can purchase a used vehicle from them as well at lithiafordboise.com. We're talking Cage Casey, Roger Carrion, Brad. They've both got NIL deals and vehicles from Lithia Ford of Boise. So return the favor, folks. Support a company that really does support BNN and Boise State Athletics, and that is Lithia Ford of Boise. Matt Bauscher, same thing. He's part of the Boise State home team, number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. Yet again, as Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate, Rand's family bought and sold our home using Matt and his team. Highly recommend it. Great customer service every step of the way. Check them out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. They got 13 locations around the state of Idaho. Love that Kuna location. The McCall location's already popping on the weekends with folks going up there. So, get 40% off, by the way, if you download their Skip app, up to 40% off at the checkout line using their Skip app. Find a location near you at shopridleys.com. You need a job? How about Transportation Compliance Service? TCS, Transportation Compliance Service, local company helping out folks all over the world, whether it's DOT, overweight, all the paperwork, permits you need to get out there on the open road. They can help you do it. Let the professionals do it. Get more information online at transcomservice.com. And if you like something you heard today, you didn't like something you heard, leave us a voicemail. Speakpipe.com/BNN. We'll get you a voicemail and we'll play it on an upcoming show. And it's brought to you by our friends at Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades. Whether it's a re-roof or repair, an estimate, and an inspection, you can check them out online at mysignatureroofing.com. And they've got some great, and I mean great, special deals going on right now. Contests they're doing for Father's Day. They're giving away some awesome stuff. Signature Roofing, check out their Instagram page. mysignatureroofing.com is their website. But go to Instagram, check out Signature Roofing's Instagram page. All you got to do is like and share their post, and they're giving away some unbelievable prizes right now. So shout out Joel and the whole crew at Signature Roofing. Make sure you check them out. Brad, real quick, in like a minute before we got to let you go, there's news coming soon about the expansion for the Mountain West or the Pac-12 adding a team. There was, report yesterday that they're getting closer to announcing the TV deal, which will lead to that 8th team. I know we've talked about this before, but any gut feeling on that 8th, 9th teams, what they're going to do, what you want to see them do? There's a lot of talk of getting into Texas. I don't know how maybe you feel differently as a coach and going into Texas to recruit and things like that. I got some flack because I said I'm not a huge, it doesn't just, no disrespect to these schools or alums of the schools. I get it. But for me, and I know, you've coached in some of these Texas schools. I know Rid has coached at some of these Texas schools, I believe. But, I mean, it doesn't really do much for me to the North Texas, UTSAs, Texas States of the world. And I would have liked to have seen them go a little bigger with a Memphis or some of those possibilities. Heck, a South Florida, Tulane. I still think UNLV would make more sense in some of those schools. But I know a lot of those, Texas State in particular, is up and coming and has money and all this stuff. I understand that. I get it. I know North Texas has the alumni base there. But right now, for me personally, they just don't really move the needle to excite me a ton to add one of those schools to the conference. But what do you think they might do? What do you want to see them do in a perfect scenario for Pac-12 expansion for moving forward here?
Perfect scenario, you grab Memphis. Perfect. You grab Memphis and you're done. My gut is at Texas State because I think it's weird that they're all of a sudden the media thing's coming out. And you have a Texas school sitting there that's going to attract the San Antonio market and the Austin market. And those are 2 big TV markets. So I wish it was Memphis. I wish it was UNLV. I want UNLV in. I've said that.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And you coached at Lamar?
I coached at Texas State.
Texas State, okay. Who was at Lamar? I thought somebody was at Lamar.
I was there for 2 months, and then I took off to Boise.
That's right. But you were at Texas State, okay.
Yeah, with Dennis Franchione.
Wasn't Coach Rid at North Texas?
Rid was at North Texas. I was at Texas State and Baylor.
Yep. Well, obviously Baylor, yeah, but So Texas State, you've been there and seen it, and I guess, and I get this. It's an investment. You're buying low, so to speak. Whatever. I understand that, but like, and maybe I'd feel differently if it's for 5 years from now. But we keep hearing about Texas State, and I know they have a good young coach and all this stuff, and they're up and coming, but like, they haven't done it yet. And so I feel like if you're the Pac-12, you should be adding someone a little more established than taking a flyer on someone like Texas State. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe they'll prove to be a great addition. Wait
a minute. Hold on. Time out.
Your name right now.
Colorado State is coming to the Pac-12, correct?
Yes.
They're ass.
They're what?
They're ass. They're terrible. So why? I mean, so if Colorado State can go.
Well, they've just proven it with facilities and some other things, and their basketball program has made the tournament and done some things. Like they just have a little more proven. I mean, even their football team, there's passes teams and have 10-win seasons and stuff.
I'm with you there. And I think Colorado State probably beats Texas State, but I just think it's Texas State for what they're trying to do facility wise, for what the TV market can bring. I think that's why it's Texas State. Now, I will tell you this. I lived in San Marcos. Once you go there, and I hope if Boise State eventually is going to go to Texas State, go. It is a great town. I mean, you can float the river. It's a little bit like, there's some Boise aspects of floating the river, the town, the nightlife. You could stay in Austin and be in Texas State in an hour. And so it's not, that's why I think it's weird that all of a sudden the media rights is done and Texas State, things are starting to come out more because Texas carries a big TV market. And I don't think Texas State carries a big TV. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's not like they're going to, the viewership's more at Texas State than UT. Don't get me wrong, or A&M. Yeah. But like I said, I wish it was Memphis. I don't think it's going to be Memphis. I still wonder if maybe a football only or football basketball only for Memphis would work. I mean, you obviously have Gonzaga, who doesn't have the football school coming in. So, and you only really need they need the one football school to come in. But if you got maybe one full-time member like a Texas State, they really need two, because you want to get to 9 football playing schools, because then you have your 8 conference games where you play everybody once. If you only have 8, you either have to have 7 conference games or you're playing somebody twice. You don't want to do one team twice. Wouldn't make any sense. So I think they need the math works the best with 9 teams, because then you have your 8 conference games, your 4 non-con, you're right there set. That means adding 2. So I wonder if you do take a Texas State or something as a full-time member, but you also make that sound, you make it on the same day, also announce you got Memphis for football only or for football basketball only, which would make it, in my opinion, I mean, if you're saying, hey, you got to take Texas State, but you get Memphis, I'd sign off right now. Like I would feel better about that. So maybe that, and I don't know if that's at all possible, but I don't know if another conference would take some of the other sports for Memphis. I don't know if the AAC would want to keep them at this point, but I don't know if, Oregon State geographically is what's hurting Memphis.
What's that?
Do you think geographically, do you think some of the teams, I'm not saying it's Boise, because I don't think Boise doesn't care. I just want to know if some of the teams are saying Memphis is too far out there. Look at what Cal has to do.
For football and for men's and women's basketball that mostly charter, I would think that they're okay with it. But I do think you're going to get pushback from Oregon State and from Washington State and Fresno State and some of these schools saying our soccer team, our volleyball team doesn't need to go all the way to Memphis to play a conference game. I think you will get pushback on some of the smaller sports, but for football and men's basketball, where it's 4 trips and it's charter, I think you could easily make that work. And the TV revenue you would add, I mean, I know football runs everything, but if you had a basketball conference that had San Diego State, Gonzaga, Memphis, I mean, they got Penny Hardaway there. They've been killing it lately in basketball as well. I mean, or at least, relevant. I mean, I think that would make this a tremendous league. And Memphis football playing in the Liberty Bowl, and they've done some things. In the last decade, they were one of the group of 5, teams. I mean, they're not, I know they're up and down at times, and I know they're not like a premier power, but I mean, Memphis football brings a little bit of weight too. So I think that if they could make it work for football and maybe basketball, either football only, or, which cancels out the Gonzaga thing because they just don't have football, or football, basketball only, I think people will be on board with that. But I do think part of the problem here is whether it's Memphis having the same problem, they don't want their sports going all the way to California, which their AD talked about a couple months ago when it came out that they were talking to him, or if it's the Western states and the Western teams in the Pac-12 not wanting their volleyball or soccer team to go there. I do think that is why all sports for Memphis probably is off the table.
Yeah, if I'm the Memphis AD, I'm going to say the same thing. It's hurting us. I mean, you guys got to come out here once. We have to go back there on multiple games. You know what I mean? I think.
But if Memphis is saying, "Hey, we're getting an extra $5 million on our TV deal," it's worth it to us, or whatever.
Agreed.
That's why they would have. Or I saw Gary Parrish does a great job, national columnist, but he's like, he wants them out of the AAC as soon as possible. And his little rant on social media that I retweeted was like, he looks around, Memphis looks around their league, and he says there's no team like them. Basketball, they can't look around the league and go, but if they see Gonzaga, they're like us. San Diego State, they're like us. Football. Oh, yeah. State, they're like us. They look around the AAC, and it's just the competition is not quite there. So even for a little increase in pay, where I get it, the Pac-12 isn't the Pac-12 of old, but for a school like Memphis, I'm sure they want to be in the Big 12. They want to be in the ACC, whatever else. I understand that, but if their best option is the Pac-12, it's still probably a better option for Memphis than the AAC, at least for football and basketball. But how that works with the other sports, I have no idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do. Like I said, I hope it's Memphis. My gut's just telling me it's not. And if it's both, I think this TV deal is going to be real nice. Yep.
Well, Brad, we appreciate your time. I'll make you a deal. We went over today, and you carried the load without Michael Callahan, so we'll let Michael Callahan carry the load next Wednesday maybe and talk D-line. And if you want to take the week off, and then we'll resume here in 2 weeks. But appreciate you for jumping on. Sorry we went a few minutes over. We could have stopped right on time, but I brought the Pac-12 thing up again and knew that wouldn't be a 2-minute talk. But appreciate you as always for your insight. How many spots was it, by the way? I'm trying to think about this on the fly here. 199th pick was Tom Brady, and you were the 206th pick. So 7 picks. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Brady.
Guess what? You know what Tom Brady's not doing? Sitting here talking to you on BNN.
I'm sure he wishes he could. The pay is about the same, probably. Yeah, but
no, I think he's living a different lifestyle.
Well, I know,
but I bet you that guy. I bet you Tom Brady with all that money still doesn't split face cards because he's a wuss.
I'm hoping that's going to happen again here. I was talking to Rid, and maybe we can get Rid and you both down there for the contest weekend this year. We're going to start that marketing stuff here. I know you missed the BNN golf tournament and events, but it was the official unveiling of the new contest this year. They're up in the entry. 15 million guaranteed for Survivor this year. 6 million guaranteed for the Millions contest. So we need to see Brad Bedell splitting face cards at Circa here in a couple months as we sign up for the contest.
I have. Barring things changing, I am very looking forward to getting down there with Circa and seeing all those guys again. And just, if you can't take advantage of going to Circa, then you are not very bright.
Truer words have never been spoken. There you go, Brad.
Yeah.
We'll add an extra 0 to the paycheck this month, man. I do apologize for going over. Appreciate you for jumping on. And appreciate everybody for watching. We'll continue our countdown tomorrow. We're going to look at the defense. Where does the defense need to take a step forward in 2025? We'll have Johnny Ballgame join us for that. We'll talk about where does the offense need to take a step forward on Friday with Jay Tuss. But appreciate all you guys. Go subscribe. Go check out BroncoNationNews.com. And we'll talk. If any realignment news breaks or whatever, we'll pop in on the show if we have to with a live show. And we're checking Twitter every 10 minutes, just like you are, to see what happens. And where we'll have you covered. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.